Good evening and welcome to the final round of our PPG IndyCar World Series 1987 edition. Coming to you tonight from the Tamiami Park and the conclusion to this championship. Unfortunately for us as viewers, the championship points are more or less concluded. Vadim Tachak will be taking the championship. We won't be getting to see a race on track to see if it's fully secured or not. It's simply points-wise, that's the way it lay here, as neither Vadim nor Yakes will be here tonight to race. But with me in the booth tonight, I have Ryan Walker. Good evening, Ryan.
Yeah, good evening, Jonathan. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back again, and looking forward to this last round at this track. It's from my practice I've done offline during the week. It's going to be a challenge, that's for sure.
It is going to be indeed. Both of us noted during the week here that with the way the track is, you need to run low-medium downforce, which makes some of the turns a little bit treacherous. Especially when it comes to getting the power down on the road. Speaking of the track, Tamiami Park is the location in a parkland circuit in Miami. Used between, I believe, 84 and 89. Maybe a little bit, a couple of fewer years. But it's a 1.784 mile street circuit slash parkland circuit. And it has 11 turns, and we'll be doing 112 laps, which would equal 199.808 miles. And it's going to be 112 long laps for all of our participants tonight. The points, such as they are scored, and the championship standings. The points that you can score is 20 for first as usual, 16 for second, 14 for third, 12 for fourth, 10 for fifth and 8 for sixth. And then they drop by 1 point from 7th to 12th, 6 points for 7th and 1 point for 12th. We also have 1 point for pole position and 1 point for most laps led. The championship standings as such sees Vadim Tachak at an unassailable, I'm fairly sure, unassailable for Coxon, who is here to race tonight, 180 points. So Vadim Tachak is our 1987 kart PPG IndyCar World Series champion. David Yakes is second on 158, and we'll see after the evening whether he will remain in second or if Richard Coxon can snatch that position away, as Coxon is only 2 points behind in the standings. Yeah. My broadcast assistant has just arrived. Hi, Lucy. Anders Nilsson is fourth in the championship standings on 113 points, and fifth in the standings are Jon Tim, my fellow Swede, as well as Anders, on 74 points. So in terms of the championship, the only quote-unquote interesting situation is whether Coxon will be second or third after this evening has been concluded. And before we go to the track to show you what it looks like, coming up here at ISO we have one final Lukas Vidra Trophy race or event for this year. It's round 6 of 6 of that. I believe that would make it 62nd Qantas Australian Grand Prix, the support races, in the form of the Super Taurus at the Melbourne Street Circuit, which is likely to be quite interesting for all of us. The track is a bit questionable for touring cars, but I'm sure we'll make it work.
Absolutely, and they did used to do touring car racing around the Adelaide and in the past. I think when they done the old Australian Touring Car Championship, when they had the likes of I think it was the Ford Sierras, Nissan, not the 4-wheel drive GTR, but I think it was a previous version to that.
Mm-hmm.
The turbo version, and I think what else was it? I think it was Volvos and Holdens.
Mm-hmm. Yep, but around Adelaide that happened, and I enjoy that track. Melbourne, I personally do not enjoy as much. Let's see, qualifying times are over, so there'll be a little bit of time before we see anyone out on track. But here we can see what we shall call the slow chicane at turns 4, 5, 6. Which sees the drivers come in from a straight into quite tight, almost 90-degree right-hander, and nearly hairpin-like 220 or so degree left-hander. As we can see Angel May coming through here, and time is run out. And then a right-hand that leads onto a short chute before a 90-degree right. But looking at the situation, who actually took pole here?
I believe the pole position went to, I think it was Cesarius Sopinski.
Oh, well, that's an improvement in pace for Cesarius. Well, improvement in pace might be a bit of a stretch, but a nice payoff to the pace he's shown this season.
Indeed, he's been quick. He's been quick at times during the season, and been right up there. But I think he was definitely doing well at the previous round, which was Laguna Seca, until basically I think he had a bit of bad luck strike him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think tonight with this street circuit and the walls being so close, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty much a race of attrition and see who can keep it on track and keep out of trouble and make it to the finish.
Definitely so. We can see I'm trying to show a bit of the track while we wait for the drivers to have their briefing. Here we can see the pit entry, which is at the end of the long concrete canyon with a bit of a gap in the concrete. The racetrack goes around the concrete, between the concrete walls, at quite a fast kink. Slight lift on a full tank, full throttle at roughly 2/3 of a tank. And then it's a short shoot down to the corner, very akin to turn 1 at Belle Isle, if a bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that the long right-hander, in turn 1, it has that sort of feel to it. It's sort of similar to Belle Isle, Belle Isle Detroit, where it's pretty much it's sort of the same style of corner, but I think it's a little bit tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make a move. Trying to make a move at Belle Isle anyway in turn 1 with that corner being so tight. It's trying to go too wide is pretty much not advisable. But I think with turn 1 at this track, I think it's going to be a lot more easier.
Well, we did see when we did 1988 edition that there was passing opportunities at turn 1, but you needed to be very brave to be able to pull it off and have shall we call it an understanding between you and the one you're trying to pass that you need a bit of room on the exit?
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. I like this corner or this track as well, especially with some sections of the track. I think, yeah, it's you can sort of go too wide, but some other parts of the track is pretty much it's sometimes it's pretty much just one line. But I think I've got a feeling that around this track tonight, I think it's going to be plenty of overtaking.
Mm-hmm. We'll certainly see quite a few moves being tried. Whether we see the actual moves being pulled off, I suppose we'll have to wait and see. We can see here Dave Miller is in this race tonight in the Los Angeles Drywall March 85. So that'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Let's actually go like this, so you can actually also see what the car looks like, since it's been a while since we last saw that car. Number 31, the white and blue car. Hlavac is back in the Bettenhausen Motorsports, number 16. We can see here Brian Yannick in the number 2 Budweiser sponsored car. As the drivers are finally getting out on track, and we can see that the number 1 in the hands of Coxon. Very similar cars, Coxon's and Yannick's. So we'll no doubt misidentify. At least I will during this evening. We have Gabriel Sturr driving the number 44, the car that Adam Hackman usually drives in the championship, with a slightly different livery this evening. And we can see here Luciano Roja in a slightly different livery as well, in the number 23. We have Matthew Sebagnoni taking part in the number 11, the second of the Honda Power planted cars. And Simon Wattman in the number 14. And we can see that Francisco Amaral off early in this warm-up session. Righto, let's see if anyone is Brian Yannick is heading into the pits. Let's see if Jules Bogaard goes around. He does. So let's ride on board with Bogaard. Down across the start-finish line over the Nissen Bridge into a right-hander. Long first corner. Very easy to run wide and into the grass and the wall. Short shoot down to a 90-degree left. Very wide but difficult to get the power down. Short shoot down to a double apex right-hander. Very akin to Druids at Alton Park. A little bit of a longer shoot, and then second or third gear through this chicane at 4, 5, 6. Again, difficult to get the power down. Then we have turn 7, this long right-hander here. And then we have 8 and 9 coming up. Somewhat quicker right-left combination, and then turn 10 heading on to the back straight. Again, a place very easy to understeer and have difficulty getting the power down. And then turn 11 here at the final kink, heading on to the start-finish straight. As we can see, very difficult to judge. Bogaard ran a little bit wide and struck the wall. And that's one lap around this place, so 1 minute 5.5 for that opening warm-up lap.
Yeah, as you saw on that onboard from Joe's there were some parts of the track where it's pretty much you're going at high speed, and some of the corners it's really spot to play. Some of the corners it's hard to spot your turning point and when to brake and when to turn in, because you're going so quick. It's and then all of a sudden it just comes up to you really quickly, and especially that final corner coming across the line, and as where Joe's just coming up to now, this is pretty much this part of the track here I always find the most difficult, because you're turning left, turning right, turning left, turning right, and then basically, as you see there, that final corner, it's so hard to spot your turning point, because it goes so quickly, especially this section coming up here.
We can see here Richard Wilkes quite quick in this warm-up session. And I would say this right-hander here, turn 10, is very akin to the what is stingly the third to last turn at Burke Lakefront Airport, the airport track where we saw a finish that was pre-described about 10 laps from the end, I'm sorry to say, where an engine was blown in the third last turn. But that turn is very akin to turn 10 here, where you see the turn and you go into it and you think you're doing well, and then all of a sudden, well shit, that wall is coming up very quickly here. Oh dear. This is not good, this is not good. Please let me be off the wall. Don't hit the wall.
Yeah, exactly. That's that feeling I always get if I ever race on a street circuit. It's one of those, for me, around a street circuit, I always find if you nail a lap around it, but say somewhere like Monaco, for example, but it just feels so rewarding, especially when you keep out the wall. But when you feel you're on a good lap, you start pushing more and more, and on a street circuit, that's not always the best thing to do, because if you push too much, it can bite you, and you can end up flipping the wall, and they also end up ruining your race possibly. But I think, like I say, I think this race is going to be, I don't want to see it, but I think it'll be a race of attrition, and see who can survive and make it to the finish.
Definitely could end up like that. Something I realized we haven't mentioned is that each driver has 4 sets of tires for this entire event, meaning qualifying, warm-up and race. So most drivers will have used 1 set for qualifying, maybe slightly scrubbed in 1 set further for a final run in qualifying to try and gain a bit of an advantage. And then each car is also limited to 118 US gallons, so 447 liters for the race. It is also mandatory to start the race with a full tank of fuel. I think fuel-wise it shouldn't be too much of a hassle. There's quite a few places on the track where you're off the throttle and being able to save a little bit, but I could be wrong. But any predictions? Who do you think will have a good race here tonight?
I was just looking throughout the field, and I think you'll probably see, excuse me, you'll probably see the usual people up at the front. You've got the likes of Wilkes, Coxon, Grant Riddell, and also you've got Anders Nielsen as well. But I think there might be a surprise that happens tonight. I think looking through the field, I think the person that may surprise me, maybe get a top 10 result or even a podium if the top runners start having issues. I think I'm going to have to go for someone like. It's so tough, but I'm going to go with someone like maybe Rob de Vries. Rob de Vries.
Could definitely be one up for a possible at least top 10 finish if everything falls his way tonight. I think it'll also be interesting to see how it'll go for Gabriel Sturr in one of the AJ Foyt entries for tonight. Right, so the field's starting to make their way onto the grid. As we can see, as we pan left to the start-finish straight. So what we will see is Cesariusz Szlapinski starting from pole, as Ryan mentioned earlier. We'll see Coxon in the Budweiser #1 True Sports entry, starting from second. Grant Vidal will start from third for Craco Racing, with Anders Nilsson in the Vince Granatelli Racing True Value car starting from fourth. From fifth will be starting Richard Wilkes in the Hemmelgarn Racing Provimi sponsored car, with Jon Tim starting from sixth in the Machinists Union entry. Juha Boos in the Reiner Racing entry will be starting from 7th, with Rob de Vries starting from 8th in the Valvoline sponsored Gallus car. 9th will be starting Ray Riddell for the Newman Haas group, with Brian Yannick rounding out the top 10 in the second True Sports entry. Oscar Tim qualifies 11th for Machinists Union Racing, with Alberto Crino, the best Penske in the field, starting from 12th. Peter Lavac qualifies 13th for Bettenhausen Motorsports, with Jason White in 14th for Patek Racing. Jules Bouchard will be starting from 15th for Penske Racing, with Dave Miller starting from 16th for Los Angeles Drywall. Francisco Amal will be starting from 17th for Leader Card Racing, with Simon Wattman starting from 18th in the AJ Foyt car. Matthew Sebagnoni will be starting from 19th in the Gallus Racing entry, with Filippo Marazzi starting from 20th for Gore. Mateus da Silva will start from 21st for Penske, with Chacon starting from 22nd in the Dick Simon Racing entry. Luciano Roja in the second Dick Simon entry starting from 23rd, with Angel May starting from 24th for Alex Morales Motorsports. I think Gabriel Sturr will be rounding out the field, starting from 25th for AJ Foyt Enterprises. As we'll have just a little bit of frame drop here, as the field is coming up to the start of the race. And green flag is out, and we are racing here tonight. And Cesariusz Szlapinski takes the lead, followed by Coxon in second. Looks like Grant is third at the moment.
Yeah, it looks to be a decent start at the moment so far, and Szlapinski was under a bit of pressure there after turn one. Coxon tried to make a move, but Szlapinski was basically went to defend early, and they didn't give Coxon a chance to get through. But it looks like it's been a relatively clean start at the moment, and Szlapinski already starting to build a bit of a gap.
Very much so. Looks like the top 4 or 5 at least has remained as they were at the start. And looks like Jules Bouchard had a good start, up a couple of positions. Lavac making a position here in 12th now, going past Oscar Tim. Let's jump on board with the Czech driver, as he's looking to try and pass the Canadian in the form of Bouchard. Oh, and he's looking up the inside. Ooh. Just about not able to get far enough inside to be able to demand the corner. Now also on attack from Jon Tim, and that looked like Dave Miller not too far behind either. I reckon this is the kind of track where the March 85 is not as big of a disadvantage as it would have been at other locations. Not a perfect car by any means, but at least not 3 seconds off the pace, more like in the mix. Oh, Lavac now looking up the inside of Bouchard going into turn 1. But Bouchard holding on around outside for now.
Indeed, and we know how much how aggressive at times Jules can be, but doing well on the lane so far, but under pressure from Peter, and I think if Peter gets a run, he might try and take the opportunity to make a move, but still it's been a clean cut clean couple of laps, and there's not been any. Oh, someone just came flying in there in the background there. They just about ran into the back of Peter Vlavac, and that could have ended up in disaster, as it looks like Little Owls had an issue.
Indeed, I'm trying to. He's in the pits right now for repairs. Looks like it might have happened at turn 1 or 2. Make that turn 1, I reckon. Even earlier than that, actually. Oh, it's the final turn. He has Sibagnoni look up the inside. He tries to take a wide line and understeers, unfortunately, into the wall quite hard, and forced to take quite a few repairs. As Grant Riddall is up to second, past Coxon. Nilsson still fourth. Jon Tim in fifth. Wilkes in sixth. Bors seventh. Rob de Vries eighth. Ray Riddall ninth. And Brian Yannick still rounding out the top 10. With Bouchard now with a bit of a gap to Lavac, Oscar Tim and Miller. Then a bit of a gap further back to Sibagnoni in 15th. Mateus da Silva in 16th, and currently battling with Jason White. So Penske versus Patrick Racing. That's big names of old that did some very hard racing over the years. Filippo Marazzi currently 18th with Francisco Amaral in 19th, Simon Wattman in 20th, Brun Chacon 21st with Luciano Roja not too far behind in 22nd, as Richard Coxon sets the fastest lap at 1:02.5. Holy moly. Gabriel Sturr in 23rd at the moment with Angel May 24th, and Alberto Quino now looking to rejoin the racetrack. So fastest lap of the race so far in the hands of Coxon in 3rd. I wonder if he made a bit of a mistake then to let Grant by.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure if Richard made a mistake somewhere, or maybe, I don't know if Grant's maybe using that, using that tactic that he's used this season of maybe just boosting and to try and get by early in the race. But again, it looks like Coxon's closing right up under braking, and I thought Richard was going to make a move there, but I think he may wait until maybe this maybe the home straight or the final corner. But it looks like Grant's pulling away in a straight line, so I think wow.
Well, that's the difference. Grant running with low wings, clearly, or a lot of boost down the straight, but either way, Ray Riddall boosting as well, going past Rob de Vries for 8th, as you have Bors as the fastest lap of 1:02.4. I noticed as well Bouchard and Lavac were close together earlier, and they are close together once again here. Let's look back from Bouchard's car and over his rear wing, as we can see Lavac looking for a way past. Oscar Tim and Dave Miller not too far behind either.
Indeed, yeah, I was about to say this pack's starting to form up slightly as well, and it looks like Peter Lavac.
Oh, Bouchard wide. This is Lavac's opportunity up the inside at turn 4. Oh, he's definitely trying for it. Ooh! Barely leaving enough room. Oh, Lavac on the exit though. Maybe. Not quite. Oh, over the curbing! Aye, that's a spin. Oh, at least he kept it off the wall.
Oh, Lavac is on the grass.
Well, at least he kept it off the wall, so that's always something. Very nice recovery spin there. Staying off the racing line and making it possible for everyone to go past. So unfortunately, Lavac down to 19th. For no real fault of his own, just racing getting a bit too close. With Mateus da Silva all crossed up coming through turn 9.
Yeah, some drivers starting to have issues already, and maybe just pushing a bit too much now. So they will look at De Silva coming down to turn 1, I think it is, and yeah, under a bit of pressure from it looks like Filippo Marazzi behind him.
That is indeed the case, and we can see behind as well Jason White and Francisco Amaral, and now Peter Lavac. So five car train here for the positions at the back end of the teens at the moment. But with that, the battle is still on. Dave Miller has made his way past Oscar Tim. Ooh, and nearly making contact with the rear end of Jules Bouchard's Penske. So clearly Dave Miller very quick in the corners, but maybe lacking a little bit down the straight. Oh, look at that. Very much quicker in the turns, but I think that Penske now will indeed just go, well, it's a straight, bye-bye.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it looks like Dave might be carrying a little bit more, maybe carrying a little bit more downforce for some of these high-speed corners now, and the only downside
Ooh.
of that is...
I think that was a bit of contact. He loses momentum and Oscar Tim goes past. So I think Dave may have just touched the rear of Bouchard's Penske, and that slowed him up enough to where Oscar Tim could have a go, and now Bouchard wide and Oscar Tim looking for a chance. Not able to make it work yet. As it looks like at the front it's closed up as well a little bit.
And indeed, and it looks like Oscar Team's closed up to the rear of Joe's Bouchard, sorry. So might be a move happening soon.
Was Richard Wilkes sets the fastest lap, and now Oscar Tim, trying to look for a chance to make a move, but not able to make it happen. Now Dave Miller again with a great exit and goes past. So Dave Miller with a great exit out of turn 10 goes past Oscar Tim once again, and now again we'll try to set about going past Jules Bouchard. But look at this, the top more or less 7 cars within sight of each other.
Indeed, they looking at Slavinsky still up at the front as well in the lead, but under pressure from Grant Riddell, with Coxon not too far behind either. So it looks like the top 3 are starting to break away from the Anders Nielsen in 4th place, just slowly, but it looks like Grant's definitely closed up to Cesarius.
Cesarius with a bit of a loose moment coming through the final turn. That's not a place you want to have a loose.
Yeah, definitely not. And I thought
Wilkes has got him past Anders Nielsen here. Sorry to cut you off, go ahead.
I was going to say, it looked like Cesarius was about to go into the wall there for a second, but amazingly he managed to keep it out. But it looks like Richard Wilkes, as you say, is got by not Richard Coxon, Anders Nielsen, sorry, and up into 4th place now, and trying to chase down Richard Coxon.
Indeed. Let's see here, traffic coming in as well. Francisco Amaral going, I'll stick to the grass here, please get around me. I don't want any part of this. That was the sort of picture language his car was giving off right there. As Gabriel Sturr gets out of the way as well, and Coxon trying up the inside of Grant into turn 1, but Grant holds on for now.
Yeah, it's definitely getting close up at the front now, and Coxon's close back up onto the rear of Grant. So I don't know if Grant's maybe struggling with tyres. Maybe he's used them up already, and Coxon's maybe just been taking it easy looking after his tyres.
Could be the case. Hlavac, I can see there, has made his way up from 19th to 14th now, just past Sebagnoni for 14th. Some 13 seconds behind those he was battling with earlier, but making up time at the moment. Looks like in that trio, Dave Miller's dropped to the back of that train of cars again, and it looks like Bouchard is effectively the cork in the bottle in that battle.
Yeah, quite possibly. As still it's looking at Bouchard and the Oscar team as well, and it looks like Oscar's fallen back from Joe's Bouchard as well, and I think it looked like for a second there, it looked like Peter Hlavac had an issue there, but maybe just on my end. But it's been a it's been a relatively clean start, and basically clean start to the first 10 or 11 laps of this race, and maybe people are realising it's a 112 lap race, and there's plenty of time to make up positions.
Looks like for whatever reason Sebagnoni is falling back a little bit, maybe some tyre issues that he must have boosted up. That was very fast indeed, but then a bit too fast in the final turn, but holds on to the position, although he's running wide here. Oh dear. Jason White looking for a way past, and Wattman at the same time trying to look for a way past Jason.
Yeah, Jason White trying to get by Matt, or basically trying to get by Matt there, and the 3 wide was never going to work. But Jason White's got the run and he's got the move done up into 16. Oh, so Matt's off the track.
Oh, he doesn't want to stop there.
Yeah, you'll get stuck.
Well, looks like he might be looking to try and wait until the really fast cars, the leading 7, gets by. He does. Very sporting and nicely done.
Oh, I thought he was going to get stuck in that curb there. He was so lucky to get away with that.
Indeed. Yeah, that was, I think, Simeone is struggling with understeer there. He looked like he had a lot of steering angle on, but nothing was happening. He had a battle still on between these 3. Now Miller in between again, Bouchard at the front, Oscar Tim at the back. So it's effectively Tim and Miller taking turns at having a shot at Bouchard, who's still stalwart in holding on to 12th position and final points. Sorry, 11th position and 2 points in this race. When I notice, unfortunately, Angel May has retired from the race. And Matheus da Silva as well. Dear me. Let's see if we can catch what happened to Angel May first and foremost. Unfortunately, looks like it happened a little while ago. Here we are. Let's see, looks like looks like she's run wide at the final turn, or turn 1, and punctured the right rear and deciding to park the car. Let's see if we can catch what happened to Matheus da Silva as well.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the positions. It looks like da Silva might have had the broken suspension, maybe clipped the wall.
Oh, looks like it might have been at the final turn. Yep, the car brakes broke loose, but he didn't. I don't think he struck the wall there.
I wonder if it's.
Oh, but he understeers off. He understeers at turn 1 and strikes the wall, and I think that's where he. Yep, that car looks very unhappy. So looks like that's when he decided to park the car.
Yeah, I had.
Yep, he runs off and parks the car.
Yeah, I was so unfortunate. He was having a good run there.
So turn 1 claiming 2 victims, and now Coxon 2nd, Wilkes 3rd, Nilsson 4th, and Grant down to 5th. So Grant must have made a mistake somewhere while all of that was going on. Or ended up out of the groove, I suppose, could also be a situation that could have occurred.
Quite possibly, we've still there's the battle for 11, the battle for 12, 13th, and 14. Yeah, 12, 13, 14th is still going on at the moment, and between these 3, and nothing really to separate them.
Indeed, I can see that Rocha and Chacon are still enjoying a battle. Watman and White likewise, and Miller very wide at turn 1, but clearly using a lot of downforce because the car came back to him and he was able to get a pretty decent exit. Oh, I can feel for him. He's a lot quicker in the turns, but just not fast enough down the straight to have a proper look.
Yeah, that's the downside with using high downforce. It'll work. It helps in the high speed corners, but in a straight line, there's just nothing you can do.
Indeed. So Grant indeed down to 5th after what must have been a tiny mistake somewhere, or getting out of the groove. Slapinski now enjoying a 2.5 to 3 second lead. Possibly fluctuating a little bit with traffic. Oh, Dave Miller is out. That's unfortunate. He was having a good race in that Los Angeles drywall car, but that ain't good. He was looking up the inside of Bouchard in the final turn, and unfortunately entered just a bit too quick. Car got loose and he struck the wall hard, and unfortunately lost the rear wing, and the car uncontrollable, hitting the wall again at turn 1. So unfortunately Dave Miller out of the race. That's most unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know if Dave maybe maybe downshifted one too many gears, because I know if you shift down too quickly, or if you're using a Hayes pattern shifter, for example, instead of paddles, then yeah, sometimes if you shift into the wrong gear when downshifting, it can blow the engine up, or maybe just maybe being too greedy with the boost.
No, well, the engine blew when he hit the wall, so...
Oh, sorry, my bad. I missed the end of that.
Not a problem. He struck the wall again at turn 1, and that's what blew the engine effectively. Richard Wilkes with the fastest lap of the race, so let's make our way back up there, and we can see now traffic again for our lead trio. Strapinski having passed Marazzi, now Coxon does the same, or tries. Makes it happen. We can see that he has closed back up to Strapinski with the traffic. Meanwhile, Wilkes is dropping back a little bit, stuck behind the slower car in a turn where the slower car has nowhere to go. And now Hlavac, the next car to be put a lap down by Strapinski and Coxon. And Nilsson not too far behind this trio either now, right behind Wilkes. Grant has dropped back a little bit though, but he has Jon Tim for close company. Let's jump on board with Jon Tim here actually, since they are coming up to traffic, and let's see how what it looks like when you are dealing with traffic. Looking from the top of the airbox through the T-cam.
Yeah, I was going to say this is probably it. This is probably the hardest part of the track when you catch traffic, because there's not really anywhere the traffic can go. It looks like one of the back markers there just maybe just got caught off guard or went offline there. It looks like Filippo was getting out of the way, and yeah, good heads up driving there.
Indeed. Wow, Jon Tim clearly full throttle through the final turn 11 kink. You can hear how careful Jon has to be putting on the throttle in a few of these corners. We can see Grant currently pulling away a little bit as he puts a lap on Hlavac as well. Richard Wilkes with the fastest lap. Still a bit of ways from the cars in front. Nilsson likewise about the same distance to Wilkes. And then obviously the duo of Riddle and Tim. And then we have Bors in a somewhat lowly 7th, 9 seconds behind the cars in front and 19-20 seconds ahead of the car behind, who is Ray Riddle. And then a further 12 seconds back to Brian Yannick now, who has passed Rob De Vries. So Rob is struggling a little bit with that Gallus Racing car at the moment. Maybe some slight tweaks in the pit stop will make it a little bit nicer for him. Bujard and Oscar Tim still in battle for 11th and 12th. Lavac still in 13th, trying to catch back up to those guys, but with traffic going on, it's difficult. Jason White currently 14th, battling Simon Wattman for that position. So Wattman in 15th, and they look to be enjoying themselves at the moment. Luciano Rocha has put a bit of a distance between himself and Bruno Chacon in the battle for 16th and 17th. Matt Sibagnoni currently 18th, with Gabriel Ster in 19th, further 13 seconds behind the Irishman. Alberto Quino, after his repairs, in 20th, with Marassi 21st, likewise after repairs. And Francisco Amaral, I believe, likewise with repairs in 22nd. Our retirees being Miller, Matt Da Silva and May. As Coxon is now right up behind Schlapinski as we enter lap 24. Make that we enter lap 23, almost finishing lap 23.
Yep, so it's still Cesari's leading at the moment through turn 1 and coming up to turn, well, basically coming up to turn 2, but they've got some back markers in front of him.
Ooh, Sibagnoni with a spin, unfortunately. Don't think he hit anything hard. Or any retaining walls, so hopefully he'll be able to rejoin safely and without damage. As again, these 3-4 drivers are closing back together. Oh, Schlapinski with a bit of a loose rear end at the moment. I wonder if his rear tires are starting to cry enough here. Though to be fair, that might be the case for every driver at this point in time.
It's quite possible as Schlapinski clips the wall there, I think, and oh, that was, or it looked like he was close to clipping the wall. As I've got back markers up ahead now, and Schlapinski manages to get by one of them, and the Coxon gets a bit compromised there, getting held up.
When Anders Nilsson with a 1:01.6, fastest lap of the race so far, back in 4th, getting past what I think was Hlavac, or no, that would have been Oscar Tim, I think. And now Bujard letting Schlapinski by, and now Coxon will be looking to try and get a lap as well, but not just yet. Maybe after the chicane here. There we go. Unfortunately for Coxon, Schlapinski had a better lapping. And now Wilkes close in behind, and Nilsson as well trying to put a lap on Bujard. Ooh, I wonder if Nilsson may have struck the wall. Oh, he has. Left rear puncture. We ran hard into the wall as well. So last turn claiming another victim, it looks like. Indeed, Anders Nilsson unfortunately forced to retire there. Noticed he lost, I think he lost some downforce running in behind Bujard there, and unfortunately into the wall he went. So Jan Tim now in 5th, Bos 6th, Nilsson 7th, Ray Riddall 8th, Yannick 9th, De Vries 10th, Bujard 11th, Tim 12th, Lavac 13th. Where has did I simply miss? Okay, I simply missed the Grant. He's now up to 4th. My apologies. I was further excited for a moment. As Wilkes now looking for a way past Coxon. So Wilkes up to 2nd, Coxon down to 3rd.
Yeah, it's excuse me. Yeah, I was just watching Coxon as well, and Wilkes and Coxon, and it looks like but I was unfortunate for Anders there. He was definitely picking up the pace, but maybe just pushing a little bit too hard there, so just clipping the wall, and yeah, Wilkes got by Coxon, and I think maybe Coxon's just playing it safe at the moment, and just basically trying to finish his back up ahead as Brader Jocon just about clips the grass. Oh, Brader Jocon, how on earth you kept out of the wall, I will never know.
Yeah, it was that looked a little bit lucky, but they all survive and live on to fight another few laps, so all good.
Oh, yeah, I just watched the incident and I had to look away. Or I watched the Jacon heading for the wall and I had to look away there. Otherwise, I would have I would have swore on the broadcast by accident. But yeah, that was a close a bit of a scary moment for Bruno anyway. But yeah, he keeps out the wall as it looks like Simeone tries to keep out the way of Wilkes and Coxon as much as possible.
And able to do so, nicely done. It's interesting to see that now, unfortunately for us, most of the battles have been split apart. Wattmann and White is still battling though, so let's jump on board with the Patrick Racing entry, a Marlboro sponsored car, looking back at the number 14 for the 8-year Foyt Enterprises. Another duo that did quite a few battles back in the day.
Yeah, indeed, and yeah, I remember. Yeah, AJ Foyt was probably one of the best drivers at IndyCar when he raced, or back in the old kart days as that was known. And yeah, I think he was the first driver to win the Indianapolis 500 4 times.
That sounds familiar indeed. I think his prime was the 60s and early 70s, but I mean he did win races in the 80s as well, so I think he raced over 4 decades as well in total, so it's quite impressive.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh dear, that looked like Wattmann may have run too wide. No, he actually took the position. Holy moly, what a pass!
Yeah, I thought Wattmann was heading into the wall there. I was like, where are you going?
Yeah, that so looked like, oh, he's off. Oh, he's so wide, but carrying so much speed around outside of Jason. Holy moly, what a pass! Wow! That almost looks like Jason going, okay, I'll hold back for a few laps and get my momentum back, and then I'll have another go. But wow, what a pass that was. That's sort of what I meant when I said there are passing opportunities there. You just need to be brave and have a bit of an understanding between yourself and the driver you're trying to pass. As now the battle has closed back up between Bouchard and Tim. Oscar, that is.
Yeah, these three have been pretty much together for quite a while, and this battle rather has been close together for quite a while, and it looks like looking at this battle, just watching on my end, it looks like Jason White ran wide, but has managed to keep it going, yeah, Oscar Team's been pretty much just lingering outside the top 10, keeping Jules Bouchard honest.
Very much so. Good to see a few battles up and down the field. That's the way we like it. Always something going on somewhere. Oh, Shrapinski without a rear wing! Wow, whenever did that happen? Another last turn or first turn incident, looks like maybe? It happened a while ago at least.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to Stefanski there, because I was just looking through the positions.
Grant with all with the fastest lap while we're trying to check out how he was off at turn 1. It was off at turn 1. Yeah, it's a turn 1 incident. No, actually no. Let's see. Through the last turn, bit tight, runs a bit wide, probably damages the left side of the car. He has a puncture. He had a puncture and span off at turn 1. Hit the wall and lost the rear wing as well. Wow, so he's brought that car back without a rear wing and a rear left puncture. Wow. Well done, Cesarius. That's one hell of a drive to get that car back.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looked like maybe Cesarius was maybe just pushing a little bit too hard there and just trying to stay ahead, but that's handed the lead to Richard Walks, and Richard Coxon up into second, with Grant Riddell into third, and John Team doing a good job and up into fourth.
Indeed, and Juha Boos, a quite consistent race up to 5th. And now looks like Coxon has his teammate for the evening between himself and Wilkes, and Yannick not making it too easy. Ooh, a car has spun there! Oh dearie me, that was Marazzi. That looked a little bit scary, but all is well here, it looks like. Marazzi getting back going and no damage done. And look at that, Yannick might be a tiny bit off the pace, but not by much. Now Coxon gets by, but it took a while. Very similar cars, same engines, should be very similar in chassis. Might be that the old True Sports is running an 86 chassis, while the number 1 obviously has an 87 chassis, but and that should be, in racing terms, equal. Though, as we've seen over the years, that's not always truly the case. As I'm sorry to say, Matthew Sebagnoni has retired. Looks like he had a moment in the fast chicane. Goes in there maybe a little bit too quick, has a bit of a loose moment, clambers the curb in the left-hander, and hard contact into the wall, loses the right rear wheel and skates across into the outside barrier in turn 10, and unfortunately parks the car. Shlapinski coming back out to the pits after repairs. Oh, that car doesn't look too overly happy. Just following down the straight and see if the car is more or less going straight. Oh. Looks like more or less driving straight at least. I noticed Coxon's at the fastest lap, 1.2 seconds between him and Wilkes for the lead of the race. Grant still in third, with John Tim in fourth, Bo still in fifth, and then we have Ray Riddell in sixth, Yannick in seventh, De Vries as Wattman is off in eighth, Jus Bouchard in ninth, and Oscar Tim in 10th, with Hlavac now up to 11th, with Wattman in 12th. Jason White now not too far behind in 13th. Bruno Chacon up to 14th. Stur in 15th. Rocha without a front wing, so he's heading for the pits for repairs in 16th. Alberto Quino in 17th, with Shlapinski 18th. Amaral 19th. And Filippo Marazzi in for those repairs in 21st, which will be 20th in a few laps' time.
Yeah, just looking throughout the field, and it's there's not really many close battles going on, apart from, well, the lead battle is still relatively close, but it seems to have just seems to have spread out a little bit, with the top three still close together, but they're not close on track. So maybe some of these cars up at the front have maybe just decide to play it sensible until it comes to the pit stop.
It shouldn't be too far away, I don't think. But since there is a little bit of a lull in the action, let's bring up the trivia question for this evening. So, the question for this evening, for the remaining 70 odd laps. 60 odd laps. Is who set the fastest qualifying lap at Tamiami Park in 1988? The year after the one we are portraying here. Was it A, Danny Sullivan? Was it B, Michael Andretti? Or was it C, Bobby Rahal?
Oh, that's a really tough question because I've not watched any IndyCar races from the 80s for quite some time. But I think I know the answer to this. I've got a sneaky feeling what I think the answer is.
Then we'll bring that up after the race, or late on in the race, if you think you know the answer. Let's not spoil the fun for our viewers. Back out on track, Coxon is now right up behind Wilkes, so that was a good pause in the action. And now, obviously, front wing to rear wing. Let's take half a lap to a lap here and jump on board with Wilkes and look back over to Coxon and how that looks from on board the Hamilton car. Oh, never mind that, they are both heading into the pits, so right on cue, 38 laps. Oh, Coxon with a very early pit stall. Meanwhile, Wilkes closer to the exit. And here comes Tim as well. Also, I think Grant may have pitted earlier still. So let's see who comes out first out of these guys. Here comes Wattman as well. Here comes Coxon. I think he took 4 wheels. I know Wilkes definitely took 4. And Wilkes coming out just in front, I think. As here comes Tim as well. There comes Bors. Oh, Wilkes is off! Wilkes off into the wall on the exit of the pits!
Oh no! Please don't say that. Say that's on cold tires.
I don't know. Let's see what happens here. Oh, Coxon up the inside. Oh no!
Oh.
Ooh.
I have to say, if I was in charge of race control, that's a slam dunk penalty for Coxon.
And that's highly unfortunate. Looks like Wilkes might try to get the car back to the pits in the state it is. Crawling around, that's highly unfortunate. That was a good battle going on, but unfortunately things happen. Yeah, that was one of those. I have the opportunity, says Coxon, tried for it, but unfortunately that didn't come off the way he would have wanted, I don't think. Oh, Wattman with a spin as well. As Bors is back out in 8th, Riddall out in 7th, Rob de Vries in the pits for tyres and a bit of fuel. Tim up to 5th for now, and Ray Riddall up to 4th for now. Oh, Ray Riddall way wide. Tim maybe with an opportunity here to go up to 4th. No, Ray with a very big engine in the back of that car pulls with a speed still in the straight line. Yannick 3rd at the moment, Tim 2nd. Coxon leading.
Yeah, just looking at that incident between Coxon and Wilkes, I wonder if Wilkes was maybe trying to be careful not to go over the speed limit in the pit lane, and maybe Coxon thought something was wrong with Wilkes and tried to get by. But that was just an unfortunate incident. As Coxon just about gets caught up with a back marker. That was Jason White, who I believe was going to dive into the pits, or just letting these guys by.
Nah, he's into the pits now, I think. You're correct. As Wilkes now has got the car back to the pits, that's good to see at least. I don't think there is a pit speed limit as such. The pit speed limit is like 200 miles an hour or something, so that shouldn't be a problem. But I think that was simply a case of Coxon saw an opportunity, thought, well, I could probably make this happen. Unfortunately, cold tires meant he couldn't slow down enough, and the resulting incident saw Wilkes in the wall, as Simon Wattman, I noticed, has unfortunately retired in one of the AJ Foyt cars. Looks like he felt he spun enough times, maybe. I saw him spin just before the pit stops. So that might be the case there, as it looks like he is in the pits for what looks like repairs. So yeah, decides to park the car, unfortunately for us. So Marazzi, last car running at the moment, in 19th. Rocha in 18th. Amaral 17th with Stur in 16th. Sharpinski now 15th with Equino coming into the pits for what I'd assume is a tire and fuel stop. Wilkes still in the pits for repairs. Chacon up to 12th, so into the points for the Brazilian. Jason White 11th and in the points, nice to see. Rob De Vries currently 10th, with Hlavac in 9th. I'm unsure if he's pitted yet, but I'd assume he has. Bos in 8th, with Bouchard in 7th. Yannick in 6th now, Ridol 5th. Oscar Tim 4th, Ray Ridol 3rd, and Jon Tim in 2nd. So these seem to be the positions indeed. And I wonder if Coxon has a little bit of damage he's carrying, because Jon has closed up considerably in the last few laps.
Well, yeah, that's what I was. Excuse me. That's what I was thinking. I wonder if it's maybe some aerodynamic damage somewhere, or if it's maybe suspension damage as well. So, because like you say, Jon's closing up to the rear of Coxon quite quickly, and I wonder if Coxon's maybe just having to nurse the car slightly and make sure he doesn't make a mistake. But that was unfortunate, that incident between him and Richard Wilkes. But yeah, it's like real life. Incidents in the pit lane can happen as well.
Indeed. Especially when it looks that wide as you're heading in there, and then you get to the pit exit turn. Oh, that's Ray Ridol off!
Oh.
Aye, he was in 4th. That looks like he may run wide in that corner and ended up striking the wall that you were going, oh dear, Chacon might hit that, and now he spins over the curbing as well, with a puncture on the left rear. Let's see if we can catch what happened. Oh, it's indeed exactly what happened here. Going through what is turn 7, runs just a tad bit too wide, hits the outside wall there, and it spins the car and knocked his rear wing off as well. So a puncture on the left rear, lost the rear wing, and then obviously having to try and nurse the car back to the pits. That's in behind. Go on.
I was just going to say, I looked at the replay as well. That was good avoidance by Oscar Team as well.
Definitely so. As Bouchard goes up to 5th, Oscar Tim down to 6th, 7th now. Bos in 6th, Bouchard 5th. Brian Yannick then in 4th now, in his one-off drive for True Sports. Ray Ridol in 3rd. Jon Tim still not too far behind, about 2nd to Richard Coxon. So Wilkes is back out on track with a car that hopefully is fully repaired by now. Just checking in on everyone. Oscar Tim then 10th now, with De Vries in 9th. But they may very well pass the other cars before too long, as there are a couple of cars ahead of them in the pits, I noticed, I think. But the closest battle on track at the moment is the battle for 1st and 2nd.
Absolutely, as just watching Coxon and Jon Team now, and I have to say it's been a great drive by Jon Team so far. It's probably his best drive of the season, I believe, up in 2nd place, and Also for his brother Oscar down in the 9th place as well. A fight, I believe both of them are brothers.
They are brothers indeed, yes.
Yeah, just thinking about the season in general. Thinking about a drive of the season or most improved drive of the season. Who would you go for?
Ooh, that is a difficult choice. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a tough. Yeah, it's a tough question. I've been thinking about it for a while, or probably the last probably two rounds of the season, and yeah, there's so so many good candidates. I mean, yeah, you've got the likes of John Team up in second. You've got even look at Jules Bouchard up in fifth, and also who else? You've got the likes of you've got Brian Janet up in fourth place in the True Sport car. Even though it's a one-off drive, like you say, so many good candidates, but yeah, I'm not sure who I'd pick.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I was to pick someone based on consistency and just pretty much keeping it clean most of the time, I would probably have to go for John Team up in second place at the moment, just because he's not always been in the quickest car, but somehow he's kept out of trouble and they got good results, finishing in the top 10 and scored points.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that is a extremely difficult choice. I would probably say, at least for the single most impressive drive this season, I'm fairly sure it was this season, is the win Adam Hackman took in one of the 500-mile races, where, or if it was 200-mile races, one of the oval races where he kept his head cool while everyone else was losing theirs, and he was able to take the win in the end in that race. In terms of over the whole season, I'd honestly probably say it's within two drivers for me, really. I think I'd probably pick Bruno Giacondo The fact that he, no matter what happens, his mindset is, I'm going to at least attempt to get the car to the finish. And this season he hasn't overdone it as such. He has parked the car when it's been too heavily damaged, and been there and scored quite a few points over the whole season. And a couple of finishes inside what I think has been the top 5. So to me, that is, for me in the way I drive, that is extremely impressive.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was just thinking about Bruno as well, and yeah, he's not always close to. He's maybe not always close to the front, challenging for podiums or wins, but like you say, he's got a mindset of trying to get to the finish if he can. But if he can't get to the finish, then he decides to think of other drivers and retire the car if it's not safe to continue.
And speaking of which, he is inside the points at the moment in 12th, but he has Ray Riddle for close company, and Chacon currently with a bit of understeer in the car. By the looks of things. And to be fair, that Dick Simon car is not quite as quick, I don't think, as the Newman Haas entry in terms of what the machinery has to offer. And look at that down the straight. Ray Riddle with that Chevrolet engine compared to the Cosworth and the Dick Simon car. Going, well, I'll take that position, please, thank you. So for now, Chacon, ooh, out of the points and avoiding the wall, and keeping on tracking. Oof.
Oh, I just saw that he got close to the wall, so close. He got close to the wall yet again, and somehow kept it out. I'm gobsmacked.
Ooh, 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 ooh. I reckon that's one of those. Do we have a spare pair of pants in the car? Could I have those, please?
I was going to say something to that, but I think it's probably better I don't say it on the broadcast.
Ooh, we can talk instead of the fact that Jon Tim is taking the lead away from Coxon.
Yeah, I was about to say, I just saw that as well. Not Coxon, Jon Tim has took the lead, and Coxon's fighting back, trying to take the lead back at turn 2, but
ooh, around outside.
Line.
Ooh, he's running wide though onto the grass. Still up the inside. Jon Tim sportingly giving him room to work. Both of them, great respect there, side by side through 2 turns, and both of them still surviving and able to battle on.
Yeah, that was good respectful driving between the two of them, and Coxon could have ran Jon Tim out on the grass here, but he left him plenty of room, and Jon Tim up into the lead.
And Tim likewise, to be fair, he left Coxon enough room on the exit of turn 2, but Coxon just a tad bit too much speed, it looked like, but again, in the same vein, Tim left him enough room to rejoin the track. So, all in all, great stuff to watch so far, and looks like it'll continue for another lap here, as Coxon is right up behind Jon Tim again going into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely, and Jon Tim's still leading, but Coxon's not giving up, and he's putting Jon Tim under huge pressure, and trying to make him crack. But it looks like Jon Tim's handling the pressure well, and up into the lead now. And I wonder if he'll be able to pull away from Coxon.
Well, I will say I believe Jon Tim has done some Formula Ford in his life, so he knows about running wheel to wheel, close together, having to deal with the pressure. So I think he'll be a difficult nut to crack, but Coxon probably is going to at least give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. As they come up to the final corner now, or coming up to turn 1 now. I see. Yeah, basically the final corner onto the home straight, heading down to turn 1, and Jon Tim's definitely pulling away now. So I think Coxon might be struggling with that damage, possibly. Maybe like I said before, maybe the handling or maybe suspension damage. Maybe some front end damage as well, because they've got a back marker in front of them, and it looks like it's Filippo Marazzi.
But nicely done, they are able to negotiate with Marazzi to get past without too much time lost for either, so all in all about status quo, roughly a second between them. And I think it could be that Coxon's situation is that the downforce might not be too changed, but it could have affected the tire wear maybe, to where the car wears the tires a little bit quicker. With that being said, he has closed about 4/10 in the last half of this lap, as they head on to another one. Since there is a bit of a gap, let's just quickly check in on the rest of the field, if anything is happening at the moment. Lavac having Wilkes trying to unlap himself on him. Not happening there, but Wilkes dives for the inside at turn 2 now. Lavac really not wanting Wilkes to unlap himself. Here comes Wilkes though with a dive, and unlapping himself he does. Well, that was part of the reason why Wilkes was so on it. He has Rocha right in front of him to get for position that would be 16th for Wilkes. So that's why he was a bit antsy about getting past and unlapping himself, as here he goes up the inside, and looks like Rocha is going to concede a position going into the final turn.
Yeah, so the rest of the race for Wilkes will probably be pretty much just a case of getting to the finish and see if he can try and salvage any positions that he can. But the two leaders are, the two leaders are coming through lap markers now, and it looks like I think John Team might have got held up slightly.
In a way, yes, but then Buchar did a very nice job of letting both of them pass when he could. So all in all, just the ebb and flow of traffic around the racetrack. Something endurance races know all about. As unfortunately Francisco Amaral has retired from the race, I notice now. Let's see if we can see what happened. Oh, looks like he has some damage on the car. Possibly from the last turn, or maybe turn 1, and quickly decided that, nah, let's not force the car from here on. Let's simply park it and save the rest of the guys the trouble. So the battle is still on, and Grant Widall ain't too far behind now. Although, if that is correct, he is a full lap behind the leading duo. However did that happen?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised that the whole field, apart from Coxon, is pretty much 1 or 2 laps behind. I'm confused about that. Well, not confused, but I'm amazed that's happened. Considering we're only on the lap 50, well, coming up to the end of lap 57. So I think it might just be a case of other drivers having issues, and basically Coxon and John Team have pretty much been keep out of trouble. Coxon's had issues with Wilkes, but John Team, from what I can see, has not really been involved in any big incidents.
Yeah, and I know there has been issues on certain R-Factor tracks. I don't know if that's the case with AMS at all, but the one thing I could see as a possible reason, if it's not from the way the race has gone for the drivers that are now a lap behind, would be that there could be a timing beacon that isn't quite placed correctly, and it could be messing up a little bit for a driver or two. But either way, it looks like Grant will be wanting to unlap himself as he is closing into these leading duo, as Coxon also ran a little bit wide during that anecdote and lost a bit of time on John Tim.
John Team's got that gap up to 1 second now, and again traffic up ahead for John Team. It looks like it's Ray Riddell.
After his repairs, he's in 12th. So 1 point at the moment for Ray as he goes to the inside, letting both of them pass, maybe even all three. Not all three, only the leading duo for now. Oh, and look at this, Coxon now right up behind John Tim. Almost shoving the Machinists Union car along the track. Effectively the same thing as a touring car driver, just using the bumper a little bit and saying, "Hey, I'm here, I'm here. Don't forget about me, I'm here."
Yeah, Grant's definitely caught up to John and Richard now, and I wonder if Richard Coxon might make it a bit hard for Grant Riddell to get by and unlap himself. If I was if I was John Team and he catches up to me, I would just
Oh, we definitely made it difficult, but Grant unlapping himself up to the lead, up ahead of Coxon at least, but now not able to unlap himself from John Tim just yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought Coxon would have made it harder, and it looked like he did. I think if I'm John Team, I wouldn't make it too hard for Grant to get by. If Grant gets a run, just let him go, because they've still got a decent, basically a big enough gap to Grant, even when he gets by. So yeah, I think especially John Team, if you're leading the race, you don't want to. On the one hand, you don't want to let Grant unlap himself, but on the other hand, you're in the lead and you don't want to compromise yourself and possibly mess up your chance of possibly taking a win or your first win of the season.
No, indeed, and it's a case of John, I think, where if Coxon is right in behind Grant, then John certainly will not want Grant to go by, because that could open up the gap and the opening for Coxon to slip by, but the way it looks right now, I think he wouldn't mind too much if Grant gets by, because there's a bit of a gap between Grant and Richard.
Absolutely, still looking at John now, and still leading the race, and Grant's not as close as I thought it would be, and this is helping John in a way, because John's managing to build that gap up now, and it's about 1.7 seconds now. It's always like John's let Grant by, and John made a mistake as well by the looks of it. So Grant Riddell's managed to unlap himself, and he's just on the lead lap, or just on the same lap, I should say.
Yep, so lead lap it is for Grant, 1 minute 9 behind. Give or take, it's a 1 minute 6, 1 minute 5 lap when they aren't pushing extremely hard, so about a minute and 4 seconds behind. Actually, that's a 1:03 lap, so make that about a minute. Look at that, immediately Coxon closes back up and brings it down to within just a few tenths. More traffic, further traffic up ahead as well. That looks like Jason White in the Patrick car. It is indeed. Oh, look at this, Coxon. Ooh! Trying to make use of that lapping, but couldn't make it work well enough. Good work by Jason to stay on to one side of the track and be predictable. Nicely done. Owen Coxon now, Tim actually defending hard. Both of them a little bit wide here. Well, defending hard is a relative term, but in open wheel racing that's quite harsh defending. Staying on the inside line off the turn. Or maybe I should rephrase it further to be harsh defending by the standards of which I enjoy open wheel racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And still, John leading the race at the moment, and Richard Cox, John Teamy keeps pulling away from Richard Cox, and all of a sudden Richard manages to pull that gap back ever so slightly. So I don't know if it's one of those things that John's maybe strong on one part of the track, and then on another part of the track, Richard Coxon's maybe stronger than John. But it looks like they're catching. Looks like they're actually catching back up to Grant Vidal as well. So, but I don't know if Grant Vidal's made a mistake or maybe just decided to try and get by and just stay ahead before the next set of pit stops. But it looks like Grant might have made a mistake because he's pulling away now. It looks like someone's lost their front wing in the middle of the track.
I think that was a rear wing even. So another one striking that wall, I'm sorry to say. Let's see if we can catch. Oh, I think that's Rocha, I believe, who's hit the wall. At least somewhat slow off the racing line. No rear wing on that car indeed, so I think that's Rocha who's had a bit of a moment. Oh, a carbon copy of Ray Riddall's accident. Just a bit wide, a bit too much speed. Ooh, but that almost looked like a heavier hit, but good avoidance by Chacon, Yannick and Marazzi. And Rocha, likewise, just checking for a few seconds before to know, okay, can I move the car or do I need to wait and let drivers past? Very nicely done, and he brings the car back to the pits. And now Jason White under attack from Ray Riddall in the battle for 11th and 12th. White a bit wide though in turn 10, but Ray having to pinch the car. Coxon into the lead now ahead of Tim. So maybe Coxon made a lapping work or found a bit of extra pace come the end of the stint. Either way, now Ray looking up the inside of White going into turn 1, and White almost looked like he jumped out of the way, but Ray passed up into 11th and Jason White down to 12th. But still inside the points. Let's see here, looks like Jon may have made a slight mistake somewhere because that's 1.5 seconds he's behind Richard. But either way, Coxon now leading again and Tim second.
Yeah, absolutely. And Coxon back into the lead now. So, yeah, as we're on about, well, we're just about, starting lap 69 now. So, I don't think. It's compromised. As John Team just about ran into the rear of a back marker as well, and this is the thing with street circuits, when you catch back markers, there's not really anything that you can do or back markers can do, especially when there's only basically one line in some parts of the track.
Indeed, and pardon my coughing fit, that was a result of the inhalation from that close call for Jon Tim. But indeed, it's extremely difficult. I mean, we see that at Monaco every year, where slower traffic can do pretty much nothing about letting faster cars by. Effectively, the whole run from... Oh, there's smoke! Smoke from someone, that's Marazzi. I think Marazzi might have a blown turbo. Ooh, and Jon Tim all crossed up at turn 1. I think that's Filippo Marazzi out of the race with a blown turbo.
Yeah, and somehow John Team saved that in turn 1. I'm amazed he saved that because he got very sideways, but maybe just but it's just showing how hard he's pushing to try and keep up with Coxon.
Indeed, and that's Bose being lapped and Coxon cutting it a little bit fine, but it all worked out. And Marazzi indeed retires, presumably with a blown turbo, considering the white smoke from the car. So that's unfortunate. 70 laps in the books and the first engine. So Jon Tim just shows himself in the mirror on Coxon, trying to put him under a bit of pressure. And up the inside of Rob de Vries, who takes the very wide line. And oh, Jon Tim's trying to sneak up the inside there at turn 1. That's a bit ambitious. Did not work out. Coxon holds on to the lead though.
Yeah, Jon Tim. Normally he's a smooth driver, but he's absolutely pushing like crazy to try and get by Coxon or keep up with Coxon. And yeah, I think John realizes he might be have a possible chance of taking a win in this race. But even if he doesn't take the win and he still finishes on the podium, I think you'll still be happy with that result.
For sure. But it's still one of those situations where I could get a win. I don't want him to get away from me. Get back here. Just going to see that in behind. I think that's Oscar Tim putting a lap on Rob de Vries as well. Possibly passing for position. That was for position actually. So Rob de Vries. Ooh, all locked up. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Stop. Oof. That was very close to hitting the wall. Did he keep the engine running? Sounds like he did. Just took a bit of time to try and find the reverse. But all locked up, but kept it off the wall. And looks like he'll be able to rejoin the race. Hopefully. Oh no, don't tell me he stalled it. Okay, there he goes. There he goes. He's back running.
Yeah, done a good job keeping it at the wall. I thought he was on his way into the wall there because he clipped the grass and he was all locked up. But amazingly, he keeps out the wall. So a good job from Rob.
Yeah, I think that it looks like he may have punctured or at least flat spotted them heavily. So that was one of those maybe where he was checking the rear view mirror and just suddenly, oh shit. Okay, so we have some confirmation about the situation that I thought was going on. Oh, as Rob de Vries indeed has a puncture of some kind. There is indeed some kind of slight problem with the pit stop situation where people have lost laps. So the driver currently in the lead would be Grant Ridall. Despite being a lap down on the lap counter, he is currently ahead of Coxon and Tim on track, which makes him the leader of this race. So it's probably a timing beacon somewhere in the pit stop area, which has seen some people lose a lap here and there. So it's effectively, where are they on track? So that means Grant Ridall currently in the lead by, say, about 2 seconds or so, 3 seconds or so, ahead of now Jon Tim in second and Coxon in third. With I'd assume Let's just get a better camera. Here we go. So that's Grant. Then we have Jon Tim second, Coxon third. Probably Bors in fourth. Maybe Oscar Tim in fifth.
Yeah.
And presumably
yeah.
Buchard in sixth and the seventh and eighth correct as well.
Yeah, I was a bit confused by some people were 2 laps down or a lap or 1 lap down. I was a bit confused by that, considering that I was absolutely sure that like none of the leaders lapped up to Grant Riddle. I had a feeling it was maybe a trap bug or maybe a timing bug. Yeah, it's been a great race nevertheless. Anyway, between Coxon and Team and Jon Team, I think well, basically, it says he's leading, but like you say, he's technically second and Coxon third. So, Jon Team still pulling away from Richard Coxon at the moment.
Indeed.
And I think I've got a feeling when it get. I think the next set of pit stops should be round about lap 80. I'll say again.
It looks like for Grant right now, and for Tim maybe right now as well.
Yeah,
Coxon continues on though, but Tim and Riddle both in. So for now, Coxon takes the lead.
Yeah, I was going to say, or maybe even between lap 75 and lap 80.
Indeed, that would be roughly the time. It looks like Rob De Vries is in on schedule as well. And someone else was leaving the pits as well. Didn't quite catch who it was. Grant Riddle gets back going. Jon Tim with a slightly longer pit stop by the looks of things. Maybe forgot to turn off damage. Hopefully not. That looks uncannily slow for a pit stop, I'm sorry to say. There he goes, okay. So maybe a lot of fuel going into the car to make the last bit of the race work. So looks like Coxon coming in now for his final stop. He does indeed. Here comes Grant out on track. I think Grant will retake the lead here. If only just. But he does. Grant back in the lead, Coxon second. Oh no! Coxon hits the wall! And loses the front wing, he'll have to pit again.
Oh no, so that's that mistake by Coxon that could possibly allow who's behind third place or who's behind Coxon? Is it
that would have been Jon Tim.
Oh, Jon Tim, sorry. So yeah, I think Coxon just pushing a little bit too hard there. I can understand why he was pushing, because maybe he was deciding. I think maybe he was going to pit at the end of this lap and trying to push as much as possible to try and create a gap. But
he just pitted, so that was effectively that was on cold tires. I think the car didn't quite turn in as much as he expected, and just a little bit too wide, and it was wide enough to where he hit the outside wall and span him off, effectively like we saw for Riddle and for Luciano Rocha earlier. So unfortunately for Coxon, that's some repairs being done, and hopefully the car will be okay afterwards.
Yeah, I think Richard will be kicking himself for that mistake, and looking at Grant Riddle coming around now, and Yeah, Richard Coxon will be kicking himself for that mistake because I think he probably realised he could have been in with a chance of winning this race, but Grant Riddle, as it stands, will probably, excuse me, they probably take this race, but getting close to the closing stages of the race, and this is maybe maybe not even pushing too hard, maybe just lost his concentration.
Could be. But this whole situation explains why Coxon was so harsh in the defense against Grant Riddle when it looked like Grant was unlapping himself, but it was a battle for position. But either way, the way I see it as such, obviously Grant in the lead. I think Jon Tim would be in second. Here comes Grant Riddle. Currently fourth out on track due to the slight bug with the pit stop situation. Jon Tim coming here in second. I would think Yannick maybe then in third now. With either Oscar Tim or Juha Boos in fifth. And obviously Oscar Tim or Boos in sixth. Could also be Bouchard in fifth, sixth, or sixth or seventh. I'm not entirely sure. One of those things when things doesn't quite work the way you'd expect them to work. But it's most likely the fact of a timing marker being like a few pixels out of place, and that causes the situation. So Yannick now coming out of the pits after his final stop. Hej tjejen. Du har varit ute.
Is that the cat?
Yep. So I think she's just been outside for a little while. Her fur is somewhat cold, so that was effectively her coming in here saying, "Hey, I'm back inside. How are you doing?" Oh, Yannick hitting the grass there going into turn 10, but holds on to it, I think. And Ray Riddle now in the pits for what is presumably his final stop.
Indeed, and I think you'll probably see the last of the pit stops probably happening on lap 79 or 80. I think maybe some people might try and stretch out as long as possible, and it means they don't have to take as much fuel. But looking at Jon Tim at the moment, it's been a good race from John, and he's not really had any issues. It's been a relatively clean race for him.
Only slight downside for him as such was the somewhat slow last pit stop here. But looking at it, let's see. He's give or take about 12 to 15 seconds behind Grant at the moment, so he's not completely out of taking the win here still. But it is a case of you need to catch back up those 12 to 15 seconds, and that ain't easy. On my manual clock, that is 14 seconds the difference at the moment between them. And quite a bit of traffic for Jon Tim to negotiate here. Someone has had a bit of a spin off turn 10. Unsure who may have put those tire marks down, but someone did. Oh, here comes Wilkes out to the pits as well, as Tim is trying to put a lap on Rocha. I'd assume a lap on Rocha at least. And there he goes, lets Tim past. And now it's brother on brother for a lap difference.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like John's catching up to Oscar as well. Oscar's who's in a battle with, it looks like, actually trying to lap someone. That's Bruno Chacon.
Indeed. There he goes, I think, past Bruno, indeed. I think Jon may have gained a second or so on Grant that lap. So we can see Coxon came out on track in 4th. So probably 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th out on track in total. That's now Large being put a further lap down, or a lap down.
Yeah, looking at John Team coming across, coming up to come up to the final quarter, and Grant Nadal's not really making any gains into his gap at the moment as we come to the end of lap 6, the lap 86 rather, starting 87, and his own team's got a swarm of back markers ahead of him now. He needs to be careful not to get caught up with any incidents with back markers.
Indeed. SKSov obviously wants to gain the time that he needs. He's 13, 14, 15 seconds now behind Grant, and he wants that time gained back. But obviously, with this amount of back markers, it's extremely difficult to make that happen. Ooh, and Oscar in front of him, getting a bit sideways, trying to make his way past Bouchard.
Here comes.
Oh, surely not 3 wide, thank you. That looked scary. Jon decides to wait until after the final turn. Here he goes. Up the inside, going into turn 1, and Bouchard makes room. Nicely done. We can see, in comparison, a clean, nice track in front of Grant here. So, not being held up by anything at the moment, but obviously in a few laps' time he could catch up to the same gaggle of cars, and then obviously he'd have to try and make his way past them as well. But so far, a really good race from him. Ryan Yannick likewise, a nice, consistent, calm drive. On track in game 3rd. I think he's probably 3rd or 4th on aggregate, or however one wants to describe it. We'll try to sort it out to the best of our abilities after the race. The results: Coxon on track 4th, Bos on track 5th, Bouchard on track 6th, with Hlavac on track 7th, and they are actually on track in a battle. Shlapinski 8th, Oscar Tim 9th, Ray Rudol 10th, Jason White currently 11th, with Chacon in 12th, Equino 13th, Stur 14th, Rob de Vries 15th, Rocha 16th, Wilkes 17th and retired. So I missed that he retired, but Wilkes has unfortunately retired the car.
Yeah, considering the issues that Hlavac had in the early stages of the race, it's been a good recovery from him, and just in front of him we've got Jules Bouchard as well. So it's been a good race from both these drivers. Keep out of trouble and up there in the top 10 at the moment.
Indeed. And this is effectively Hlavac has caught up to Bouchard, the guy he was battling when Hlavac had his moment earlier on in the race, and now he has a chance to, maybe in his way of looking at it, put things right by putting a pass on Bouchard and going ahead of him. Let's look back from the rear end of Bouchard's Penske, and we can see that the Chevrolet powering this one is somewhat superior. The Cosworth in Hlavac Bettenhauser Motorsport entry, also possibly partly down to setup, but I'm fairly sure that Chevrolet is helping Bouchard a little bit extra down the straight. Oh, Juha Bose has just retired. Whatever happened to Juha? Oh, that looks like that might be an engine failure.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like a. Excuse me, it looked like Juha had an engine failure.
As he is running in behind Yannick, so maybe a battle for position right here. Ooh, just as the change of gear there on the exit of turn 1. So that might have been neither just the engine running at high revs or him changing and missing the gear and the engine crying. Can we have a break until after the winter, please?
Yeah, I was just watching and I was wondering if it was maybe. I wonder if it's when Juha's went to upshift and maybe just hit the limiter for too long, or if it's when he's downshifted and maybe just took the wrong gear.
I think it's more likely that it's either just before he's about to gear up, where he's in the high rev range, or as you say, as he gears, he misses the gear or doesn't revs too high and it just goes kaboom, unfortunately, but one of those things. Oh, another car smoking, that's Bouchard, with a lot of smoke coming out of his car. That Chevrolet might not belong for this world.
Yeah, I was going to say it's looking very smoky and still.
Oh, looks like he's down on power now.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a blown engine. Oh,
not like blown yet, but that looks like it's not going to last long. As he's wide and Lavach goes up the inside.
Yeah, it looks like it's definitely smoking and he's losing power. So.
Oh, and Ray Riddle has retired as well in the meantime, so I'm just going to quickly try and check in on what happened to Ray. Looks like it happened a while ago, unfortunately, but not a retirement for Ray, sorry to say.
Yeah, I'm still watching Joe's from my end, and he's definitely slowing down now. So I think that that engine's cried enough. Or it's basically said it's had enough. It's don't park in the middle of the track.
Oh, there it goes. That's the turbo going, unfortunately. So yeah, just one of those things, just pushing the engine just maybe a little bit too far, and the consequences dire indeed. As Jason White has retired as well. Oh dearie me, so drivers falling by the wayside now, as we have entered the final third of the race.
Yeah, some people are starting to have issues now, and yeah, hopefully none of those issues strike any of the drivers up at the front, or because I've just got a feeling that some of the drivers will be thinking about their engine now with some of the drivers starting to have engine failures.
Could definitely be the case indeed. There's some 16, 17 laps to go. So still time to run into trouble. Oh, Lavach just retired as well. Dear me.
Yeah, it's like an engine failure as well.
Oh.
So, yeah, maybe some drivers just pushing their engine too much.
Ooh. That's a big failure there for Hlavac. That was nowhere near a gear change location. That's effectively the engine disintegrating and saying, nah, let's call it a day. In my very worst Irish accent. Which is something they said for there's an actor that was on Top Gear. He's I think he said he's Irish German. I can't remember his name, but he's been in like recent X-Men, and I think he did was he in Schindler's List maybe, and a few other bits and bobs.
I know who you're talking about. I think there's not a. Is it Liam Neeson?
No, it's not Liam Neeson.
Or is
younger
it
than that.
Or is it Michael Fassbender?
Thank you, Michael Fassbender it is. He was on Top Gear, and they were sort of discussing the heritage and the fact that he was part German and part Irish. And Clarkson then promptly put together the fact that, well, that's a bit contradictory, isn't it? That'll be effectively going, that has to be done absolutely perfectly tomorrow.
Like, oh yeah, I remember that actually. Oh, that was funny.
With, I think the insinuation is having to be done absolutely perfectly as the German side, and tomorrow, then presumably meaning the Irish side. I can't claim to know whether that is this stereotype for Irishmen or not, but that's the way they put it at least.
Yeah, I do remember that on Top Gear. That was. I remember when I watched that, I couldn't stop laughing. But yeah, Michael Fassbender, he's a great, but yeah, he's a great actor. I've watched. I don't think I've ever watched a. I don't think I've watched any of it. Well, I've not watched what is it, X-Men that he's in?
Yeah, I think he's in X-Men. I think he might be playing Magneto in that. Let's see, Jon Tim still in second, presumably. Then it might be Oscar Tim in third. It's either Oscar Tim, Brian Yannick, or Richard Coxon. I just can't claim which one. Maybe even Hlavac. Sorry, not Hlavac, Shlapinski. But either way, it looks like unless something happens to Grant, he is likely to be able to hold off Jon, as it looks like now. Sorry, go ahead with your line of thought.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I think I was trying. Yeah, he probably heard me try not to sneeze. But yeah, it's been a good race. I think there's been some people like up at the front that you normally wouldn't see up at the front, but yeah, I think it's a good way to round out the season. And I think how many laps have we got? Just under, or just about 12 laps remaining. 13 laps remaining.
13 laps remaining. I think that would be.
I think have we done the trivia question yet, or the answer to it?
We haven't gotten to the answer. I was about to do it, but then we came into other thoughts about what was happening and not happening. So let's do that. So for you all, the trivia question were: who set the fastest qualifying lap at Tamiami Park in 1988? Was it A, Danny Sullivan? Was it B, Michael Andretti? Or was it C, Bobby Rahal? And I know I saw a few answers earlier. I saw Berlin saying A, KO said C for Bobby Rahal, Berlin A for Danny Sullivan. We have Blue Moon saying B for Michael Andretti.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. I'm going to go for A, Danny Sullivan.
Okay. I'm just waiting to see if anyone else wants to have a stab in the chat. Otherwise, for your own side of things. But the correct answer is A, Danny Sullivan. So congratulations to Berlin and to you yourself there, Ryan, for saying the correct answer. He set the fastest lap in the number 9 Miller sponsored Penske at a lap speed wide quick at 55.062 seconds a lap around this place. Oof.
Yeah, that's really quick. I went for A, Danny Sullivan, because 1988 was the year that Danny Sullivan won the championship.
Ah, that's correct. That is certainly one way to go about having a stab at who's done it, so to speak. Right, back to track. It looks like this might be a battle for position, actually. Yannick is driving on strong to try and hold on from Jon Tim in behind. So, based on that, I think this is a battle for position. Because Yannick was taking it a little bit easy, but now that he has Tim for close company, he's sped up.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's them come up to turn 1 now, and yeah, I think Jannik was taking it easy slightly, but I think as soon as he saw Team closing the gap, I think he's pretty much figured out he needs to go quicker now to try and keep that gap. But the Team again is still closing that gap, and I think Jannik, that's been a great drive by him up there inside the top. Well, basically at the moment the top 3, but it's doing a good job, and I think it's just a matter of time before the team gets by him or makes a move on him. Sorry.
Well, maybe. It looks like Yannick has actually increased the gap a little bit, so it certainly isn't easy for him to catch up. Yannick is making it as difficult as he can for Jon here.
User joined your channel.
Good evening.
As we are joined by one of our unfortunate retirees, Juha Bos. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm actually here just because I've done the maths on the laps, but I don't know if you already have.
We have had no chance of doing that, no. So if you have a better idea, then go ahead.
Yeah, can't officially confirm it, but going from the lap times, Jon Tim has been docked 1 lap and Grant 2, which means that the leader is actually Grant Riddall. Jon Tim half a minute behind, roughly. They're on the same lap. Grant's in front. Then it's Richard Coxon, who's also been docked 1 lap. So he's a lap down on Jon Tim. Brian Janik 4th, 1 lap down on Richard. Zarius in 5th, and Oscar Team in 6th.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, that means this is not for position. How boring. Well, one could have hoped.
Which one were you watching then?
We were watching Yannick and Tim. Yannick was going hell for leather, so we sort of assumed, well, that might be for position then.
No, unfortunately it isn't. Well, unfortunately for excitement, I mean. There's Jannik. I'll almost have a look, obviously, but Jannik is on lap 103, which appears to be correct. Richard Coxon is on lap 104, so he's a lap. So actually is not yet lapped by Richard, but coming up to be anyway. Although we still need to officially confirm that by watching the replay.
Indeed,
you never know.
Indeed. Well, at least that gives us an idea of what is happening in this race. So, top 3 being then Grant Riddall, Jon Tim, followed by Richard Coxon with Yannick in 4th.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, either way, it's still a great drive from Brian, as you mentioned, Ryan, and it's one of those cases where you come in for, I think he's done maybe 3 races this season in kart, and this is mightily impressive. It's unfortunate he hasn't been able to partake in the full championship. I think he'd be right up there fighting for the championship based on this race alone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great race from him, and yeah, I've been really impressed by his pace as well, considering that, like you say, he's not really done many races, but the races that he has done, he's proved he's quick enough to be in the series, and he's definitely doing a good job. And if he can keep out the wall and survive for the remaining laps, it'll be a well-deserved result. And I think hopefully next season he decides to make a go and do the full series or the full championship.
Well, it's interesting. You say, let's hope he can keep it out of the wall, and just as you say that, he scrapes the wall heading down towards the final turn.
Yeah, I just saw that. I just saw that. I was like, no, don't curse him. Don't curse him.
Well, Jon Tim catching back up again there. And look at this, in 7th at the moment, Alberto Quina, who was in the pits after lap 1 of this race, well inside the points.
Yeah,
it's a good recovery drive as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say, it's been a great recovery from him, considering he had issues, and like you say, he was in he was in the pits, getting the damage repaired, and he's kept out of trouble and got it back up into the top 10 and into a point scoring position. And yeah, Little Al is one of those drivers that I think he's been around for quite a while on ISO, racing, and is it mainly open wheel racing he does? But nevertheless, he's a quick driver, and his dad, Big Al, is basically part of the ISO admin team, and does quite a lot of work behind the scenes with various mods, making sure they're ready for every season.
Yeah, the modding team has put in a hell of a job, both last season and ahead of this season and during this season. So, with this being most likely the final broadcast of the year, I would like to put out a huge thank you to the guys. You guys are fantastic. You put together such great work. It's fantastic. Absolutely great to be able to drive these things and have fun with them. And I'm looking forward to next season. It's going to be very interesting. And I hope, with obviously some of the more taxing time coming up early part of the season, that you all, and I suppose I'm including myself as part of the admin team as well, will be able to have a few days off during the Christmas holidays, at least, to spend time with family and close friends, and then we'll be back after the new year for another season. But we have to conclude this race first, and we have the final Lucas Vidra Trophy race next weekend, before we can take just a moment to have a bit of a breather.
Talking about excuse me, talking about Big Al, he's in the YouTube chat as well. So I wonder if he was listening to us.
probably isn't thinking, who is this clown who's talking about the admin team and the modding team? He knows nothing about the admin team and the modding.
Well, we can definitely tell you has watching the stream because I just caught it in the background.
Yeah, I was actually going for read the comments. And the South switched off. Sorry. I think that's John Team heading. I was going to say the final lap. It's the penultimate lap.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder
Oh,
how
no!
they're gonna
2
Well,
laps
if
to
you-
go. Rob de Vries' engine gives up. The turbo is blown.
Oh, that's painful.
I suppose the way to look at it, sort of actually, yeah, no. He was in 8th. He'll be classified in 10th, I think, by the end of the race. That's really unfortunate for him.
Yeah, he'll remain there, yeah. Luciano is a few laps back already, so...
Uh-huh.
Well, he'll likely remain there, I should put it that way.
Indeed.
It needs to... need to do a bit of math work before we get there.
Quite.
I see no big changes as, well, theoretically Grant is on his final lap, I should say. Sorry, penultimate lap. Well, John Team is on officially the last lap. It's quite confusing.
Quite, but either way, in about half a lap the race will be concluded. And then the math work will likely begin, and brains will be used and brain cells will be aching.
Very likely, yes. I can... I think Grant's saving a bit of fuel to make it around another lap.
Fair enough.
Somebody
So-
seems to be weaving.
Yeah, out
John
on track at least, John Tim will be called the winner here, but most likely on aggregate it'll be Grant Riddall
it'll be
who'll take the
Grant.
win. But,
Exactly.
but one can understand the joy. I mean, Jon has had a few good finishes, but I don't think a podium finish yet this year, so
Yeah.
yet
as
still
Richard
that's a great
Coxon
result.
crosses the line in what should be third place.
Yep, Yannick crossed the line, presumably in 4th.
Yes.
Grant
we
Riddall.
only have Grant Riddall still has to cross the line,
Yep.
which hopefully he will do.
Yeah, as you say, it looks like he is trying to take it a little bit easy, make sure he has fuel to burn. As he's coasting from now effectively
Yes, and there he goes.
across the finish line to, on aggregate, take the win here tonight. So Grant takes the win, Jon Tim on aggregate will be 2nd, Richard Coxon will be 3rd, Yannick 4th, Schlapinski 5th, and Oscar Tim in 6th. Alberto Quino, I'd assume, will be 8th. Sorry, 7th. Gabriel Stur, I'd assume, will be 8th, with Chacon in 9th. Rob de Vries scored in 10th, despite retired, most likely. Luciano Roja, 11th, most likely. And Lavach, most likely being retired, but scoring 1 point for 12th. With our other retirees being Bouchard, Bos, Riddall, Ray, White, Wilkes, Marazzi, Amaral, Wattman, Sebagnoni, Nilsson, Miller, Da Silva, and May. As Jon Tim, in the meantime, is doing a few burnouts and donuts here to celebrate the end of the year. At least in kart. We still have 1 race to go. What a race that turned out to be. That was a lot of fun, at least to watch. I'm not sure how it was to drive.
Oh, it was great fun to drive until it blew up again. It was typical kart race for me, really.
Suppose that's one way to look at it indeed. Looked like you were having a bit of a quiet race overall, staying out of trouble there, you, huh? Was that the sort of the plan, or is that how the domino bricks fell?
Well, I was, as usual, not quick enough for the guys in front and a bit quicker than the guys behind, so I was in no man's land and just cruising around, and it was going very well until I missed a gear, and that was it. Goodbye. So, quite annoying, put it mildly.
Yeah, that's one of those things that happens occasionally. Overall, with the kart championship, how do you think that went, both for you and maybe as a whole? If you
Well,
wish
for
to.
me, I DNF'd a bit too often, so that for me personally wasn't good. But
Fair.
as a whole, the races were good. I think the broadcasts were nice to watch and quite exciting. Some races could have done with a bit more finishes, but that's how it goes. Yeah, overall, we've had decent entry numbers, so we can't complain.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I would wholeheartedly agree. So, in terms of the top three in the championship standings, with the results, Vadim Tachak will be the Kart Series champion for the 1987 championship here in 2022 ISO. Richard Coxon will be second, and David Yates will be third. Ryan, any final thoughts both for this race and then maybe for the season as a whole?
Yeah, I have to say this season was really enjoyable to call all inside yourself, and the races in general were really good to watch. And there were some races I couldn't make, I couldn't call due to other commitments, but the series as a whole, I think it was really enjoyable, and there was great racing and some standout performances. Especially today with the likes of John Team and Brian Janik having great races, and I think in general the series is great, and the mod as well. Especially, I think the team involved made the mod, and they got everything ready for the season. They've done a great job, and yeah, I might excuse me if they use the same mod again, or if there's a plan to use they run another kart series season, maybe play maybe a more, maybe I'm not sure how to say, more modern, or more maybe something with the 90s kart cars, for example, would be cool. But if they do another season with this mod, I don't think I'll try and do the whole season, but I may try and do maybe the do the Indy 500.
That's a fair hope and a fair call. Well, I can only echo what has been said about the season as a whole, and thank all our racers and participants as such, and thank also Martin Lacina and Matsi Bagnoni, who's put in work for mods and tracks this year, and Anders Nilsson for being one of our track testers, along with Grant and Ray Riddall, I think, among a couple of others that I can't pick out the name from out the blue as such. Thank you to all of our admin teams, all our participants. Thank you to Ryan and also to Tim Hiller, who's been with me in the booth for this series. It's been a lot of fun to call, and I hope all of you have enjoyed the races as much as I've enjoyed bringing them to you. And we're looking forward to what next year brings for 2023. This is the last planned broadcast. We might have some form of highlight package for the last LVT round, since both me and Jason will be racing, but We'll see if that is possible to do at all, but with this being the final planned broadcast, I hope you all have a good, happy holidays for the Christmas and New Year's holidays, and take care of yourselves and look after each other. And until 2023, good night and see you on the other side of the new year.